In lesson 3.4, our goal is for you to be able to find missing terms and create explicit and recursive formulas for arithmetic sequences. First, we're going to evaluate the given equations for the indicated function values. I'm given f of n equals negative n. I'm going to plug in a 12, so I have a negative here. My n is going to be replaced with a 12, and there's nothing else. So when I calculate, makes a negative 12. F of negative 14. Well, I have a negative here already to begin with in my equation. I'm going to plug in a negative 14. When I calculate, double negatives make it into a positive 14. I'm given f of n equals 6n plus 3. They say f of 4, so I'm going to take that 4 and I'm going to plug it in place of the n. So I'm going to put a 4 in. 6, plug a 4 in, plus 3 is 27 for my solution. Then they want me to plug a negative 2 in. So I have 6, I leave my blank, plus 3. Plug my negative 2 in. 6 times negative 2 plus 3 equals negative 9. Question C, we have 3 to the power of n. It's up in the power, so when I type it in, I'm going to have 3, and then up here I'm going to plug in a 1. So you push 3, there's a little caret button that makes your box go up, plug a 1 in, 3. What if I plug a 4 in into that power? I would type 3, power up of 4 is 81. So that is evaluating functions. In example 2, find the next 3 terms in the sequence, identify the common difference, write the recursive function and explicit function. Okay, so I'm going to look for my pattern. 2 to 4 to 6 to 8 to 10. So it has to be a repeating pattern. So if I tried multiplying by 2, if I multiply by 2, this would end up being an 8. So this is not multiplying by 2 each time. That wouldn't work. What if I add 2? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, add 2. Okay, so then that would become 12, 14, 16. Because we were adding 2. So the common difference, I would say D, because difference, equals a positive 2. When I write the recursive function, these are my favorite ones. We are going to write it as f of n equals f of n minus 1. So for recursive, we copy this section every time, and then at the very end, you put your pattern. I was adding 2, my common difference was adding 2. And that is my recursive formula. If you said f of x equals f of x minus 1, close parentheses, plus 2, this would be correct. You're just using a different variable. So on the assignment, make sure you're paying attention to, do they want you formatting it as f of n, or do they want you formatting it as f of x? It's just telling you which letters to use. The explicit function, I would write f of n equals plus 2 is the slope of your sequence. So I would have a positive 2 for my slope. I place an n on it so that they know it is my slope. And then I'm going to look for the y-intercept, which would be back one spot. So if I go back one spot, instead of going +2, +2, I'm gonna have to reverse. So I'm gonna do 2 minus 2 makes a 0. Put a +0 on the end. Okay. I want you to try this method. This is slope-intercept form, which you have seen before. You may also use point-slope form, but I will show you that method another day. So for right now, I just want you to focus on slope-intercept form. So I'm going to make a little note. This question's done, but if I had written f of x equals f of x minus 1, and I put a +2 on it, and let's say this is what you put on a test, both of those are full credit. They're the same thing. If you had written f of x equals 2x plus 0, it's the same thing. You are just using a different variable versus x versus n. So on your assignment, be careful and watch for if they want f of x or if they want f of n. All right, let's try B. It looks like we have a 3, 2, 1, 0. It's going down by 1 each time. So if I minus 1, minus 1, minus 1, cool. We filled in our last 3 terms. Common difference, D for difference equals, if I'm subtracting 1, I have to put -1. So now I'll write f of n equals f of n minus 1. I copy this every recursive, and at the end of it, I put my pattern, subtract 1. For explicit, I'm going to write f of n equals, my slope is -1. I put n on it so that my slope has the variable, because it's the pattern that reoccurs. And then I need the y-intercept. I need this blank. So if I go back one step to find my y-intercept, that means I would have to do the reverse. So I'd have to add 1, which means this spot would be 4, a positive 4. Okay, to clarify, when you are given a sequence, when you're giving a sequence, the first number in the list is your first term. So this is your first term, second term, third term, fourth term. We found the 5th, 6th, and 7th term. If this is the first term, that means it's the 1. That is not your y-intercept. Your y-intercept is at 0. This is why I had to go back one step away from the first term and find the 0 term, which is the y-intercept. Just to clarify. Side note, if you are working ahead of me and you put f of x equals f of x minus 1 with a -1 at the end, that is still correct. And if you did f of x equals -1 x plus 4, That is also correct. You're just using a different variable, which is fine. Example 3, Max recorded where he went throughout the day. The graph shows Max's location in town beginning at 9 a.m. Use the information in the graph to answer the following questions. What was Max's location at 9 a.m.? I go to 9 a.m. Here's my dot. 9 a.m. Max was at home. Oops, I'm sorry, couldn't even see that. Max was at home. What was Max's location at 7 p.m.? Okay, here's 1 p.m., 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 p.m. I'm gonna go up. Here's my location. Max was at Booker's house. Where did Max go between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m.? Okay, so that's like this, so 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. That's your window that you're looking at where Max was. Max went to, at 1 p.m., Grandma's house. Then at 2 p.m., the park. 3 p.m., there's no dot. 4 p.m., it's a little off, but gas station. And then at 5 p.m., ended up back at home. So Max went to Grandma's house, the park, gas station, and back home. What would f of n and n represent in this graph? So f of n and n. Here is my n, which is usually the x-axis. And this is my normally y-axis. And y-axis gets replaced with f of n. So if this is n, n represents time of day. F of n represents location. I'm going to say location. All right, if you have any questions on today's notes, please let me know.